It's not just a phone, it's a selfie expert. So OPPO says, but does the F1 cut certain corners to make it so? Does it even live up to its own moniker? Well, that's what we're here to find out. I'm Jules Wong, and this is Pocketnow. A metal backplate? A polycarbonate shell? In 2016's middle-of-the-road price range, the competition has brought their all-metal jackets to play, and OPPO didn't. But we think it got away with something here. In addition to cost reduction, it also lent enough palmable metal to keep that cool feel on contact and a small sense of luxury. But it's not much luxury as we take a closer look at the back. We find speakers and only one LED to serve as a camera flash. Flip the phone over, and you have capacitive keys that don't have light-up icons, and a 5-inch 720p tad-warm LCD. As you can probably tell, we had a hard time shooting the display while outside, and that's thanks to the panel's limited brightness range. More of a sin to us than the low resolution is. The F1 has dual SIM capabilities, but there is a slot that has a microSD card space to expand that native 16GB of storage by up to 128GB. Even better news on the insides though. The Snapdragon 616 promises very consistent power, and with the 3GB of RAM, this phone shouldn't really stutter. Well, it does in tiny ways, but we'll get onto that. On paper, the F1 is a modest but substantial phone. Modest is not the software though. ColorOS is a tangly matter. Exhibit A, lock screen. You can opt for it to show a magazine of sorts, constantly rotated images of pretty things every time you unlock your phone. Like beautiful woman. Sure is a man's world, huh? Beyond that, the typical Chinese Android traits are here, mimicking the layout of iOS, having a theme store, screen gestures that apparently work only one time out of 3, animations, some superfluous things here and there, of course. The notification shade is at least a decent one. It even adjusts its layout for landscape mode. The nastier side of ColorOS out of the box shows off how much of a control freak it is. Seriously, the security center nudges you to send unwanted memory, be it stored or active, up into space, Major Tom. It aggressively manages your power usage with a smart mode that kicks in at around 40%. What's so irksome about it is that you can't edit any of the behaviors it's set to do, even though it seems to invite you to do so. It even tells you every so often to take a break and eat. Hey, I know what I'm doing with my time, OPPO. And it doesn't help that you treat every calendar event like it's an alarm. OCD much? Now, viewing the larger software picture, we hope that OPPO is making progress with its Spectrum UI project. In the meantime, ColorOS, presented by default, doesn't color us impressed. Camera-wise, we are pretty happy for what the F1's worth. 13 megapixels is fine for the rear, an f2.2 aperture is okay, but the rest of the work goes to the functionality-packed software, with features like 50 megapixel snapshots through compositing, raw output, manual focus, and just a whole bunch of nifty features. The Pro mode is a bit of a joke though, as the fastest shutter speed you can manually set to is 1/4 of a second. Focus was a tad tricky to get sometimes, but we're pretty happy with the results. Decent color balance and great detail in bright conditions, as is the standard for most cameras. Contrasty situations gave some trouble to the F1, with far-off details awash in mud and noise, and blown-out sky too. Lower light still, and, well, so much for dynamic range. On the selfie side, the 8 megapixel camera, with a relatively large sensor, does a decent job. The Beautify lens is as overpowering as ever, but beyond that fluff, it's certainly good on the detail side, and even in the dark, where, yeah, that's pretty bad overall, but it'd be a few shades darker on similar phones. Is it a selfie expert at €229? Well, we'll go as far to say that it's right among the better selfie takers, even in the upper price ranges. But expert is a little too boastful. Our performance notes will be short. OPPO doesn't have an American version of the phone out, leaving our unit stuck on edge. For most of our test period, we opted to carry around a hotspot to use the phone. While benchmarking scores show good potential, we found that moving around the UI uncovered some occasional jitters just from how burdensome it is. Casual gaming is fine, more intensive games come pretty smoothly with the very rare frame drop. Battery-wise, we couldn't really get an accurate picture. The day we had our T-Mobile SIM in it, the F1 lasted us 9 hours all told. While sticking strictly to Wi-Fi, we've been able to go into the next day with 40% battery. There's no VOOC rapid charging as there is on other OPPO phones, and for how pushy ColorOS is about saving battery, it doesn't give any duration info. The best estimate we can fathom based on these percentages is about 3.5 hours of screen on time. It's €229, 20 more than what the Honor 5X goes for, but in some key specs, the F1 does outsmart its Huawei competition. And in spite of the very bloaty, sometimes dysfunctional software, the hardware carries through it admirably, and there are good cameras packed in for the cash. While we don't have reason to wait for an update to Marshmallow, given OPPO's software track record, there is hope that it may come in the form of a Project Spectrum ROM. Now, if you're willing to forgive a pretty bad display by this year's standards, OPPO definitely has a great value proposition in the F1. While its main selling point, the cameras, are fine, they're just fine. Ahead of the pack, but only by a stone's throw. And you could say the same about the rest of the innards of this thing. If that irks the future-proofer in you, the F1 should probably be out of the running. If it's not, well, put a little work into it, and this device should treat you well. It certainly has for me. Thanks for tuning in. If you've liked this video enough and are on YouTube, well, hopefully you have hit that subscribe button as well as that thumbs up too. And to our Vessel viewers, well, thanks for checking us out. Of course, there's more to come at Pocketnow.com and all the social sites as well. My name is Jules Wong, @PointJules on Twitter. For all of us here, there's more coming your way soon.